Alrighty, how's it going, guys? Hank here, right back at you with another short video on the Review and Preview Sports YouTube channel. And once again, friendly neighborhood reminder, if you like what you see and want to see more of our content, you can follow us on all of our forms of social media. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Review and Preview Sports. And of course, if you want to see more content as well, please don't forget to hit that big red button down below. Give us a like and a subscribe, and of course, leave a comment if you have your opinions regarding the topic matter. So today will be another video where we will be recapping New York Rangers and their long road trip. Now, on the West Coast portion of this trip, the Rangers ended up going 2-2. They lost 5-1 to the Golden Knights, the Vegas Golden Knights, in the first stretch of this trip. This was actually the return to Las Vegas for Ryan Reeves and Gerard Gallant. They were both part of the Vegas Golden Knights for 3 to 4 years. Reeves was a fan favorite and among one of their key leaders on that team, and Gallant was the coach who led them to the Stanley Cup final run in their expansion season. However, before that game, they got some bad news as it was announced that Igor Shesterkin had tested positive for COVID, and he had to sit out due to being in protocol. And it also didn't help that they were without Artemi Panarin, who was also sitting out as a result of protocol. So the Rangers ended up losing this game 5-1. Jonathan Marchessault scored 2 goals for the Golden Knights, and it was just one of those bad games. The next game, though, they rebounded. They beat the Anaheim Ducks 4-1. Jarred Tinordi scored his first goal of the season. He tied the game, first as a New York Ranger. Mika wound up scoring the game winner, and Ryan Lindgren chipped in with a pair, including an empty netter at the end. And this was also the game where the Rangers allowed the fewest shots in one game during the season. They allowed only 14, and they also blocked an impressive 13 shots. A very dominating 4-1 win over the Ducks. And then there was the third game against the LA Kings. The Rangers came out flat, lost that game 3-1. And it should be noted that Ryan Reeves was also in protocol after that game against the Ducks. And then they lost Barclay Goodrow. So they were without a significant portion of the team, and they had to call up some of their AHL players. And as predictably, the Rangers ended up losing 3-1. But then some more guys started to come back. The final game of the California stretch, Igor returned. He picked up right where he left off. Artemi Panarin had also returned in the loss to LA. He looked a little bit rusty, but he would slowly start to get better later on. And the final game of the California stretch, Igor led the Rangers to a 37-save shutout victory. Chris Kreider had 2 goals, while defenseman Braden Schneider made his NHL debut, and he also contributed with the goal. He has looked very good so far, and matter of fact, his second game of his career in Philadelphia, took a puck to the face, just came back, and he's like, let me in. He looks like another guy who could be good for the Rangers for a long time. He's another Ryan Lindgren style of player, a defenseman that's very physical and will provide a lot to the team going forward. And speaking of that last game of this road trip, the Rangers went to Philadelphia to face one of their biggest rivals. And as a matter of fact, yours truly attended this game. In fact, this was my first Rangers road game since November of 2019 when I went to New Jersey to see the Rangers shut out the Devils. This was a lot of fun for me personally. It was one of those weekends where I had nothing going on, and I decided I'd just take a train ride to Philadelphia, went up, booked a hotel, spent the night there, and then after spending a little time in my room, walking around the area, took an Uber over to the game, walked around the complex of Philadelphia. I think it's pretty cool how all the teams have their complexes within walking distance from each other. You have the Citizens Bank Park right across the street from the Link, and then walk straight across from the Link and you'll get to Wells Fargo Center. So that's pretty cool. Philadelphia overall is a fun place to watch sports, even if I cannot stand any of the teams. But in any event, let's get to the game. The Rangers, despite looking like the better team, they were tied after 2 periods. Looked like it was going to be a blowout when Mika scored that power play at the beginning of the game. It was his 10th goal in the last 14 games, and it was an absolute bomb, too. He had the puck from the dot facing the goalie. He just straight out let it rip. But then the Flyers tied it, and then going to the third period, it was one of those, you got to win the period to win the game, and things didn't look good. Despite the fact that the Rangers were looking like the better team for most of it, they couldn't get a goal, and then with about halfway through the third period, Philadelphia Flyer Cam York scored his first NHL goal to give them the lead at 2-1. But then the Rangers, with their never give up mentality, tied the game exactly 37 seconds later. Phillip Heatl, who up until this point had been struggling, he had one inability to handle a Strome pass led to the first goal of the game. He found a way to redeem himself by tying the game. It was only his fourth goal of the season, but it couldn't have come at a better time. And then 3 minutes later, only fitting, two of the All-Stars, who I'll get into later, had a hand in the game-winning goal for the Rangers. Adam Fox is wide open with the puck. He shoots it, and then Chris Kreider, as he usually is, he's in the right place at the right time. He's standing right in front of the net. He deflects it in. It's his 24th of the season. Rangers take the lead, and there was a little mini heart attack at the end. The Flyers had a half-ice shot that hit the post, and then they had a furious comeback attempt after the goalie was pulled with 2.5 minutes left in the game. But despite all this, the Rangers would not allow a goal. They would hold on to win. Igor, once again, was fantastic in this game. If you look at how he played, he went 26 for 28, but it felt like it didn't really feel like one of those games where he gave up 2 goals because he was absolutely lights out. And both the goals he gave up were because of bad defensive lapses. But his biggest save came on a shot by Cam Atkinson at the beginning of the third period. He saved 4 shots on Atkinson, too. So definitely a big reason for the Rangers win. And the Rangers go 3-2 on this road trip. And for yours truly, it was very satisfying to go into Wells Fargo Center, see the Rangers win. And for the record, no, I did not get attacked by any Philadelphia fans. What I did was I went in, I only really interacted with fellow Ranger fans, and I didn't really make too much of a scene in my seats when I celebrated the goal. And then as soon as the game ended, I just got up and left. That's pretty much what you have to do if you're going into an intimidating road environment. But in any event, it was a great win. And the Rangers, as we speak, are still in first place. They have 54 points. Carolina is trailing by 2. However, they have a game tonight against the Boston Bruins, and Carolina also has 4 games at hand. But keep in mind, the Rangers have yet to play the Carolina Hurricanes this year. In fact, they don't meet up with them until later in the week. But let's talk a little bit about the All-Stars. As I mentioned, Chris Kreider and Adam Fox were the 2 Rangers that were selected to the All-Star team. Neither one of these players was a surprise. Chris Kreider, as I mentioned, now has 24 goals. And it looks like not only could he top 30 for the first time in his career, he could top 40. This is his best season in his career, and it looks like he's finally starting to live up to that superstar potential that a lot of fans have been talking about. He's one of those guys that he would go on stretches where he'd score goals in bunches, then he'd go ice cold, but it's looking like he's putting up consistent goal-scoring basis for the first time, and it's something that you really love to see. Adam Fox, also not a shock. He is averaging almost a point a game. He had 2 points in the win against Philadelphia Flyers, and I believe now he has probably close to 40 points this season. He's got to be at or near the top of the league lead in terms of point scoring. And one of the last men that was selected to the All-Star game was Mika Zibanejad, who, as I mentioned, got off to a rough start in the first quarter of the season, but over the course of the past few weeks, he has been on absolute fire. 10 goals in 14 games, including a big power play at the beginning of this game, but he had to back out of the All-Star game because of a personal situation in Sweden. So as a result, he will unfortunately be serving a suspension and missing a game. But that's what it is. That's how the NHL rules are. And so the next stretch for the Rangers, they have 3 games in 4 days. They will go to Toronto, Carolina. They will be playing the Maple Leafs at home on Wednesday. I'll be going to that game as well. Very excited to be back at MSG. It always feels like a while every time I step foot there after like 2.5 weeks. But then they go to Carolina, a big 4-point game against the Carolina Hurricanes, who, fun fact, have a number of former New York Rangers, including, to name a few, Derek Stepan and Tony DeAngelo. And then they play the Arizona Coyotes when they return home on Sunday. And 2 days after that, they'll be playing a game against the LA Kings. So a big stretch for the Rangers, and hopefully they can create some distance between themselves and the teams that are chasing them for a playoff spot. Would be huge to get a few wins here and there. But, folks, that's about all I have to talk about regarding the New York Rangers. They continue to be playing well. That comeback in Philadelphia pretty much was another representation of how their season's been. You can never count them out of a game. They have been a lot of fun to watch. And again, as I mentioned the last time I talked about them, I can't wait to see how they improve their team. Obviously, they have some pulls, but a lot with this team remains to be seen. But that'll about do it for this short episode on the Review and Preview Sports channel. Again, friendly neighborhood reminder, if you want to see more of what we post on social media, you can give us a follow on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Review and Preview Sports. And if you like this video and you want to leave a comment down below, please hit that big red subscribe button down below. Hit that like button. Leave a comment. What do you think about the Rangers? Were you impressed with how they did on that road trip, despite all the losses due to COVID and that comeback against Philadelphia? What do you think they need to do to improve the team? And how do you think they're going to do against the Carolina Hurricanes? Do you think they'll remain in first place within the next few weeks? I will be back later for another Ranger recap. I will be talking about the Henrik Lundqvist retirement ceremony. That will be coming up on the 28th. But folks, that'll just about do this for this video. As always, thank you again for watching. Until next time, I'm Hank and Dichter, and I will see you guys later.